You're listening to Real Talk All Sport. If you're listening on Spotify, it is Real Talk All Sport. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, it is Mr. B Productions WAL. And we are on TikTok and Instagram as well, with all the socials of what we get up to. And we're not in Teddy's place today, as you can tell. I'm in my attic. And Nath is just back from North Macedonia.
Tired, Dad. Tired. It was a long trip, but a great trip in fairness. And well, yeah, where do we want to start? Do we want
I
to
know
start
there's so many
in
places we could
Kazakhstan or do
start
we want to
from.
start in North Macedonia?
What?
Because listen, it was literally getting out the jail, wasn't it? We got out the
Yeah.
jail.
Well, in terms of getting to North Macedonia, where did you go from to get there?
We went from Luton Airport.
Yeah,
Ooh-wee.
I saw there was a lot of I was working on early mornings on the on like the day before the game,
Yeah.
and working in radio, and the amount of Welsh fans, they seem to all be going to Luton Airport to go
Yeah. So there
to
was
go there.
like, I think, so there was the wonky sheep flight
Mm,
from Cardiff, but then there must have been 2,500 fans who traveled, I think.
yeah,
So you think that, a couple hundred on the wonky sheep flight, all the rest were on. So the flight I went on was just all Welsh fans. There was
yeah.
no people going back to North Macedonia. It was just chocolate Welsh fans. But tell you,
And
it don't matter if the fans are from Wrexham, Carmarthen, wherever. They're just 99.9% of them are so sound. I
yeah,
swear.
yeah, yeah.
You just get on like, I met Mark with a C. I'll never forget his name because he kept calling me Mr. Blake. He's the one. He's the one who had the Tom Pentra flag you might have seen on BBC and what have you.
Mm,
I met him in the square in North Macedonia, outside the statue of Alexander the Great. Lovely fella. I say to him, "Call me Nathan." He's like, "No, Mr. Blake, Mr." I'm like, okay. But yeah, they're just brilliant, and I'm just so glad the result ended up the way it was because it was so undeserved
yeah,
that getting the first goal. We should have put them to bed by 60 minutes. It should have
yeah,
been like 2 or 3. But hey, oh,
yeah.
we lost it. Then it felt like we won it
Yeah.
in the end.
And before, I didn't realize, because you were telling me about North Macedonia, I didn't realize that one, Alexander the Great played a massive part in North Macedonia. And two, like, you were saying you went past someone's house as well.
Yeah. So Alexander the Great, you didn't know that.
Well, I knew you played a part because it's strange with North Macedonia, because you've got North Macedonia, and then you've got, if I'm right, part of Macedonia, which is now part of Greece, and there, like, it was a lot of
Yeah. So I
chain.
think his mother was Greek, I think,
Mm,
and his father was Macedonian, and he ruled from, I suppose as far as out to what is modern day Iraq, Iran, and
mm,
that across to like Russia, I suppose. So he was a legend, and
yeah.
my namesake in it. So that's something. But we went to the house of Mother Teresa, which was also in the square.
Yeah, which I,
So
I also didn't know it was there as well. I think you hear
yeah.
so many
So
stories
it
about
was,
that, but I didn't actually, I wasn't able to pinpoint where she was from.
yeah. So the history and the culture is, Alexander the Great predates Jesus Christ.
Mm.
It's a BC. So I think it's 400 BC, something like that. I think if you
Wow,
look
that's
back,
that's
if my
crazy
history
history.
serves me correct, I'm trying to plug up my history.
Hey, I'll
Uh,
believe I'll believe anything you say, Nathan. It's
Yeah,
fine.
just have a look on the internet, and I'm sure it'll be right. But listen, it was a nice trip. Fans are great. See them in the square in the daytime. They were in good mood, good spirits, behave
Mm,
themselves always.
yeah.
You might get minor incidents here or there, which, to be honest with you, I never hear of. But they're just they make you proud to be Welsh, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And the first game, obviously, we'll go straight into it. Was the first
Yeah,
game was against Kazakhstan. I was on one side of the stadium, you were on the other.
Yeah.
I think I could see you. I was waving, but it's hard. It's
Well,
hard
I see
to.
the guy in the red top on the other side of the
Yeah,
stadium.
it's
That's
it's
all.
hard. It's hard to pinpoint the guy in the red top and the bucket hat from the other side.
Yeah. 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 It's
So
pretty difficult.
yeah, an interesting game and an interest. I don't know about you, but I thought it was an interesting lineup um, for who we picked. So we had looking back at the Kazakhstan game. So 3-1 to Wales, a
Mm.
nice solid score against
Nice, comfortable. Yeah.
yeah against a team we would expect to be at home.
Mm.
Um, and probably I think if you did predict a scoreline, that would probably be one that lots of fans would predict.
Mm.
We look at the squad for that game.
Mm.
Back four is probably our most predictable solid back four. Left back, Nico Williams. Right back,
Mm.
Connor Roberts. And then your centre back pairing of Ben Davis and Joe Rodon.
Mm.
However, beyond that, it was a little bit more unpredictable because I don't know if you agree with me here, Nath, but we were missing two, probably possibly considered our
Really.
two best players in Welsh tops at the moment. Ethan
Mhm.
Ampadu in that centre mid and Harry Wilson, who has been for the past few years spectacular
Yeah. Don't
for
forget Aaron
Wales.
Ramsey.
And Rambo as well,
Yeah.
is injured at the moment, having just had surgery.
Mm.
And so looking at that team, you had, which I don't think many of fans would have expected, centre mid, you had Sheehan, which probably was expected with the injuries, but
Mm.
then Cullen just kind of centre
Yeah.
mid, but a little bit beyond him, a little bit.
Yeah. You had like you had like a back four.
Yeah.
Say you had Williams, Davis, Rodon, and Roberts,
Mm,
and then you had sort of Sheehan holding
mm,
Craig, and I think it's because the opposition is weak
yeah.
or weaker. No disrespect, but they are.
Mm,
Uh, Craig's thinking, well, they're just going to pack the defense, which
they,
they were okay, actually. They were better than I think we gave them credit for or what we expected. But you then play Cullen as like an 8. So you go box to box
mm,
rather than two sitting midfielders. So you play Cullen as a box to box. And then you play Brooks like as a 10. So you play, instead of it going 4-2-3-1, it kind of goes 4-1-1-1. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that
Yeah,
you've
because
got your wide boys either side. You then got
yeah.
you then had Sorba one side and Dan James the other side.
Mm,
So your front three with Brennan Johnson, but then you got, instead of like a 1 or a 2 behind, you've got a 1-1-1.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
totally agree because it didn't necessarily feel like a centre mid pairing in terms of
no,
like
it wasn't. They didn't. So the idea is you play. Jordan James played in the game prior
mm,
uh, against Turkey. We were expecting him to, sit in a 2. But what Craig has done, instead of having two pivots, what they call two holding midfielders, he's gone, well, I want one, and I want one of you to go and join in
mm,
uh, the front boys. So effectively, you attack it with 5 men.
mm-hmm.
And a fullback sometimes makes it 6. So the
Yeah.
first against Kazakhstan, Connor Roberts was I think was too high too soon.
Mm-hmm.
So he was going into if you looked at his position, he was never in the right back spot. He was more inward and in a right side of central midfield spot. But then he kept making the runs into the box, which
Yeah.
he loves to do,
Mm,
right? But you can't forget about the defending.
yeah.
You know? And we got not exposed, but we done well, but Kazakhstan done all right at times. All
Yeah.
right.
There was a
They
little
showed
bit
their
of scary
intention.
moments.
Yeah, they showed their intention right from the kickoff when they had a good attack,
Mm,
right? So it wasn't a warning because we were in full control of the game, I thought,
yeah.
for practically the 90 minutes. But for me, as a feel, you play your way into that game rather than into that style, rather than just bang off the bat, right? I'm just gonna
Yeah.
just push forward, and you know what I mean? You still have to sort of read what's about you, and
Mm,
because if you just keep making the run, you know, you probably make 20 runs and might get the ball twice. It's all about timing. That's
Yeah.
what they, you know what I mean? Got to time the run properly. So if the ball gets played 5 times, 3 or 4 times, you get an opportunity, or you get the ball to your feet, or you get the ball in front of you, you receive the pass rather than go 15 times and get it once or
Mhm.
twice. You leave yourself a bit exposed as well. But
Mm.
yeah, I think it was a surprise to many the way he set up, but I wasn't shocked at all about it, to be honest with you.
Mm.
I was shocked that Cullen before JJ. That was a surprise.
Do you think that was because it was a weaker team and he thought this is an opportunity to see how it goes because they should be winning it? Or do you think why would you think that would be the case?
The former. I think that listen, Craig's been in the game a long time. He's an intelligent guy. When it comes to soccer, he'll leave no stone unturned. Literally, he's
Mm.
obsessive about it. I know that. He's really obsessive about it, and he'll know that who he can play and when he can play them. Also, what he's done is he's given the squad more depth,
Yeah.
and he's giving boys time on the pitch to get experience.
Mm.
So Cullen, for instance, who scored in his last game, playing in that position, I felt a bit sorry for him because he was largely ineffective
Mm.
in the game, right? And I think that was a combination of things. I think the main reason was, it sounds crazy, but so without a centre forward in Brennan that will sometimes come toward the ball,
Mhm.
hold it and lay it off, it's hard for someone like a number 8 to then make runs beyond you because
Yeah.
you're always making that run beyond, right? And the idea was, if you think about it, so if you're set up next to Sheehan,
Yeah.
central midfield,
I got you.
and you're being asked to join in 9 times out of 10 rather than sit alongside your other pivot,
Mm.
you're going to have what's in front of you, Brooks,
Yeah.
and what's in front of him, Johnson,
So
right? So
it's so
one of
clogged
you,
up then.
right. And then your width, the two boys hold their width really good, Sorba and Dan. They were
Yeah.
brilliant. But because then I said this in the game against Macedonia as well, what happens is, because Brennan doesn't like to come towards the ball, it's hard for Sheehan to play through the middle to him. So then Brennan should have the ball at the feet, lay it back to, say, Brooksy or
Yeah.
Cullen, and then Brooksy or Cullen make the run beyond Brennan.
So it essentially doesn't give that opportunity for Brennan to come in and then Cullen to peel off that
Yeah.
and exploit the
Third
space
man
that
running. It's old school. Like
yeah.
the game doesn't change, it's just the wording changes around it,
Yeah.
right? People will say, oh, in overlap, underlap, this, that. It's, it's two pivots.
Yeah.
Well, it's two central midfielders effectively. One who doesn't really does run up and down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what you got. Old school. One used to be more of a sitter when I played, and one would make the run into the box. Alan Thompson and John Sheridan, or Alan Thompson, Per Franson. Per Franson used to like to sit. Tom used to like to run beyond when I was at both.
Mm.
So it's nothing new.
Yeah.
It's just the wording has changed around it. But I thought the problem we had was, because Brennan is a peeler and goes in behind all the time and rarely comes to the ball,
Yeah.
it causes you then a problem because you can't get the old school, like I said, third man running to go beyond Brennan, because
Mhm.
he's always looking to get on the shoulder of people, or you're always playing on the right on the line of that offside line.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it didn't cause us a major problem because of the opponent, but I think the higher up you go, teams who can keep the ball better and put you under pressure, I think it will cause us a problem going forward. So, you know, I think, like, Craig's not stupid. He'll
Yeah.
look at it and he'll resolve it, and he'll find a way around it, over
Mm.
it, under it, through it. He'll find a way to deal with it.
And then looking at kind of centre mid,
Hmm.
we said about Cullen, Josh Sheehan as well. What have been your thoughts of him there? Because he plays for Bolton at the moment.
Mhm.
He's got a very specific style of play. He's
Mhm.
not going to go and fire up the pitch. He's had
Yeah.
to fill in for that Ampadu role. Has that
Mm.
impressed you in terms of how it's going? Because whenever he's played before, it's usually been in the kind of a second friendly match.
Yeah, listen, I actually, in the first game, I felt the reason why he wasn't influential enough, because he's a great TikTok player,
Yeah.
right? I'm not big enough TikTok, I'm just saying. So he keeps the ball ticking. So he gets
Yeah.
it, gives it, gets it, gives it, gets it, gives it, shares it, lends it, gives it. He's a brilliant player like that. And I felt there were so many occasions where he would get the ball centrally, look up, and he's not got that sort of, Brooksy would be off to his left, maybe.
Mm,
Um, Cullen would be off to his right, but there's men around them. So what he's looking for is to, dissect the midfield. So he's looking to wrap it into that central striker who comes between the two midfielders, right? And because he didn't have that pass, he just kept like keeps the ball beautifully. I
yeah.
think he's a lovely little player, honestly. Um, but it wasn't it wasn't his greatest game against Kazakhstan, even though he didn't do nothing wrong.
Yeah.
From an offensive point of view, he didn't look as effective as he can be
Mm,
because he doesn't have that. Because they teach you as a midfielder, your first pass is to look forward, look at your striker, and if your striker is peeling all the time, right, and the defense is sat on the 18-yard box, what option do you have?
yeah.
Got to go wide,
Yeah.
right? With your fullback, and at times you can go over to, like, if Brooks is pulled out wide or James is hugging the touchline or Sorba Thomas. So it actually takes away a bit from what he's got on offer then as
Mm,
an outlet, right? Because, like I say, your first job as a central midfielder, being look forward. So when he's looking forward and there's no one coming towards him to wrap it into, that's going to, right, that takes away a lot of what
mm.
essentially makes me look good then.
Yeah, I get you. And it would be a waste just to try and like risk it and ping it every time over the
Well,
top
they got
for.
so many men there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've got, what they play? They played like a five, I think it was at the
Yeah, it
back,
was yeah, it was
or,
it
or
was always
middle.
at minimum four defenders.
Yeah. So they basically went, they went they went crazy with it. 5-4-1 effectively they had. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So 10 players plus your 6, 7 players. It's just like there is no room. And you're sat on, you know, 18-yard box to maybe 10 yards outside the 18-yard box. So any ball that is dissected through down the channel has to be spot on
Mm.
because it just runs out of touch otherwise.
Yeah. And then moving ahead of the field, you've then got our front three. And if we look back to kind of just before Bellamy, we would have usually have seen Dan James on the left,
Mm,
Brennan on the right,
mm,
and then typically Kiefer up top. Whereas now
mm,
what we're seeing, and it's been pretty consistent, is there's this role for Sorba Thomas on the left.
mm-hmm,
Dan James is now playing more on the right, and
mm-hmm,
then Brennan up top, and then behind him in that number 10 role has been either it was Brooks in the Kazakhstan game and then kind of Broadhead in the
mm,
North Macedonia game. I imagine that being all well, if Wilson was around, he'd probably play in
mm.
that 10 role as well.
Yeah, he would.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. What are kind of your thoughts on that kind of change of role and all those positions in that place? Because like
Well,
Sorba's out on that left like almost all the
yeah,
time now.
Sober's like he's brilliant, mate. He's like a jack in the box. His energy level is incredible, right? And he's got good like quality, especially set pieces and stuff like that. He's good crosses the ball well on the run. Like I said, like a very good player. Probably was underrated, and then Bella's has seen him and thought, oh, what?
Because
Like
he was considered a
energy
kind of like
level.
right back
Yeah, he has.
like
Yeah, but he can play. He's like a Jacob Murphy. He can play multiple positions. You could ask him
yeah
to play left, right back, right wing back, left wing back, left of a three, right of a three, and he can do all of them, and he'll do them tirelessly, and he'll do them to a every one of them. He'll do to a minimum 7 out of 10,
yeah
right? Which is hugely important. So he's adaptable, which is great for Craig. but putting him on the left and then Dan on the right, I thought Dan was more effective. And
Mm-hmm.
I think he's matured a lot over
Mm.
the last sort of 2 years. He's become a vital player for Wales. But he was instead of I think the difference is when he plays on the left, he looks to cut in on his right.
Yeah.
Well, when he's on the right, he looks to get down the outside, which is the classic wing play,
Mm.
right? The problem is he's getting down the outside, and then that final ball against Kazakstan wasn't great, as we all seen. But when he can pick out a cross. I think then what you're missing is that classic centre forward
Yeah.
in a Kiefer Moore, right? The the problem he's having is like Brennan doesn't like headering the ball. I seen that the other night against Macedonia, but he's not like Brennan's not a classic centre forward. He is this new age sort of not a winger, not a centre forward. He's like a like a hybrid in between the
Yeah.
two. He's a wide player. You put responsibility to get goals. Now, when I was playing, wingers' responsibility was to provide goals and get a few goals yourself. If you can get the double figures, great. Whereas Brennan is sort of like a right side centre forward. He's expected to provide
Mm.
and get goals, right? There's no sort of, oh, you can get 2 goals a season. He's expected to get, I would have thought, between 8 and 14 goals. 8 is a half decent season.
Yeah.
10 or 12 is a good season. 14 or 15 is a very good season.
Kind of what he was getting at Forest at his when he was doing
Yeah,
it
for playing his
in that purple
hence when
patch.
you get the 40 million pound move.
Yeah.
Right. So I think what Craig's looking at is more fluidity rather than a static centre forward in the big man Kiefer. Does that work? For me, well, you've not lost yet, so you can't argue.
I know.
Right?
It's also quite hard to actually like dissect these games in a way because it's
Well,
like
I can dissect them because I understand what he's doing and why he's doing it. In the
mm,
modern game, that fluidity, that sort of flow of a front three,
yeah,
which is instead of you being there, you being there, you being there, it's not. You're there, then you're there, then you're
yeah,
on the left side, then Dan's over in the middle, then Brennan's out on the right, and that fluidity, that rotation makes life very difficult for your opponent. All right.
mm,
So I completely understand why he's doing it. I just think the only thing that's missing from making it even better is sometimes Brennan being able to be the platform.
yeah,
Someone's got to be a platform at some stage, right? You can't just say, okay, we're going to play the ball forward. Sometimes it's got to come back to then go forward, like I
mm,
say, the man run, right? That's just even Man City. You look at the best team keeping the ball,
yeah,
and they have a centre forward who will run beyond, but also will come to the ball, hold up the ball, and then he might spin in behind himself or someone else goes beyond him.
mm,
But it's just, it's, they think it's new age, but it's not, you've not reinvented the wheel. You've just slightly altered it, right?
yeah,
It's got from round to a bit oval. So, uh, but like I say, I like it. I like the free flow. I also think it lends for Craig, it lends itself to him having more options of more players who can play in that free role. So we've
yeah,
seen play in there, right? We've seen Brennan play in there. I know Dan has had little spells in there. You know, you can definitely have any of the front 3 or 4 who played the other night against Kazakhstan or against Macedonia. Any one of them can end up as the 9.
yeah,
When FIFA plays, he is the 9,
yeah,
right? So
absolutely,
you've got sort of less sort of opportunity to confuse the opponent if you've
mm,
got a static number 9. Although I think, you know, like I said, we need that platform sometimes, not as much as we would have done previously because we're very much thinking, and no one's worried about, oh, if I don't really play up 9 out of 10, I'm going to be out of the team. Craig's letting it develop, letting you get used to things, right?
Yeah.
And persisting with Brennan as that nine.
Mm.
Uh, but I would be, if I was one of the coaching staff, Craig is a 5'7", 5'8" guy. Never had a problem coming to the ball.
Mm.
Brennan's 6 foot, 6'1".
Yeah, he's. I think a lot of people forget he's
He's
actually quite
taller
tall.
than
Yeah.
he's a big physical, athlete. He's a lovely shape and size, right? I think if anyone can help him, Craig can, right?
Yeah.
In that short space of time. About, sometimes a frustration a bit was one touch laying off the ball, one touch when it wasn't on. Don't
Mm.
lose the ball for your team. If you're not sure, take a second touch, a third touch, and just keep it.
Yeah.
Right. So these are things I think Craig can definitely help him with. And if Brennan wants to develop his game further, that's something I would say to him to look to do, is to look to improve your back to goal play.
Yeah, I get what you mean, because there were times in the game where he'd run in, kind of take that almost like I'd see it as if I was playing like a panic touch in terms of like, right, I need to get
Yeah.
it off to then go.
Yeah, because
Whereas,
he's that's because he's thinking one of those galoot is going to come and boot me, right? Right? Like and if you're used to playing like side on,
yeah,
so I was a winger classically, so I'm used to playing side on.
yeah,
So I see the game backwards and forwards, and I receive the ball usually with me half facing the defender, right?
mm,
Sometimes we spoke about it in the women's football about when they pass the ball out from the back. Those wingers, your job is to maintain possession, right? Just
mm,
like centre forward. Your job is don't let the defender jump in front of you, because then they counter attack you. Take the foul. If I'm Brennan, back in. If he gives me a little shove, I go down. Ref stops the game, get a free kick. So, like I say, it's 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 not difficult to do, but I think it's something that another tool to add to Brennan's sort of
yeah.
the tricks. And if he gets it, we'll be better for it.
Nathan, you were saying earlier that you wanted to talk about the penalty as well against Kazakhstan. So
Yeah,
3-1.
yeah. Listen, I thought it was a little harsh, if I'm totally honest.
Yeah.
Right? In modern day football, I said straight away on air, it's a penalty,
Mm,
right? And but when you look at it, um, I don't think that would have been given 15 years ago. The problem is almost anything that hits your hand now and you're not looking at the ball and you're 10
mm,
yards away from it. If you're 2 yards away from it, someone drives the ball at you, it's difficult to get your hand out of the way.
yeah.
But even if your hand isn't in what they call a natural position, that's my thing. What's a natural position?
Mm,
Like, what's unnatural is for Dav to have the ball, me to close you down while you're in the box with my hands behind my back.
yeah.
You need your hands to balance.
I've never done that. Growing
And
up,
if you drop your shoulder left, right, and I've got my hands behind my back, it's like that's so unnatural. I'm like it winds me up. The rule absolutely winds me up, because it's created by people who essentially, I bet, never really played the game. Because anyone playing the game would say, well, you don't run with your hands by your sides. You're not a penguin,
yeah,
right? You don't run like this. You run like this, and you change direction and what have you, and
yeah,
jump, and your arms are all part of your body. So this unnatural position, and to be fair, Connor had turned away from it because he's thinking, I don't want to get it in a dish.
yeah.
But in doing that, he's his hand is a bit out, a bit, because it's not
Mm.
going to be tucked in. It's a natural position. The ball's at his hand. So I thought the penalty was harsh,
I gave
extremely.
yeah, I gave away the exact same penalty in Barry Town Stadium about 6 years ago in a plate final. I
Yeah.
remember it. I was playing right back, same place as Connor Roberts was, against a team called Libanus. It was, And
Mm.
they also had a left winger who looked a very very good looking fella, but looked spitting image of Kiefer Moore, um,
Okay.
and he was on his left hand side, faked it to his left, put it onto his right, and
Yeah.
because in that motion of turning, having to turn,
Yeah.
in that time he smacked it with his right, bang, off my hand, which was kind of elbow was still in to my,
Yeah.
but it smacked my arm, and I was like, ah, I
Can
have,
I just say, can I just say, you
yeah,
need to let it go.
I know. Oh, honestly, we lost that game as well. I
6 years ago. See how these things stay with
I
you.
remember it because
They traumatize you,
it was
right?
so frustrating because I hadn't necessarily done anything wrong. It was just
Yeah.
the guy had turned. I tried to turn quickly with him, and before I could, he's putting across, and it smacked my arm, even though my elbow's in.
Yeah.
But no, I totally get it with you. But it was almost saved. It was almost saved, that
Yeah.
penalty.
Listen, I think it was almost saving um what's his name? Carl Darlow was
Darlow.
unlucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, was unlucky. But that was my gripe with the penalty. Listen, it made things interesting at least for a bit, right?
Yeah.
Because we weren't able to break them down for a while.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it made for a good game for a while.
Mm.
But in the end, uh, it was a comfortable win. It was the other thing I wanted to touch base with you was the
Mm.
the 16-year-old who came on. I thought he was going to play. That's Dan Satpayev, I think, isn't it?
Okay.
Satpayev. Um, and I was doing some research before the game, and noticed he had gone to Chelsea for 4 million euros, so under 4 million quid. Now, my thing is always like Welsh teams, Cardiff, Swansea. That's how you recruit.
Mm.
That is how you recruit. You got to get in before these top Premier League teams to players like that because he looks like he's going to be a player.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
left at his club, Almaty, um, but he'll come when he's probably another season, so he'll stay there, have another season, and then come. But great recruitment because he looked like a terrific little player when he came on,
Yeah.
quick, stocky. Um, he was sort of in that sort of Aguero sort of mold, and that was the lad who used to play for Stoke, Albanian. He used to play for Stoke
Oh,
and
Xherdan Shaqiri.
Shaqiri. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
kind of in that mold. Big calf, solid thighs.
Yeah,
You know,
he had some serious calves on him. I remember when I
yeah, yeah,
first,
yeah. And I was like,
yeah,
great recruitment, though. Great recruitment. And
yeah,
that's why I say to Cardiff, Swansea, championship clubs, you're going to get in players for 5, 6 million quid. You know, cast your net. Part of the club's recruitment, you know, should be look all over the world. Look in like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, you know, um, Bulgaria, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Slovenia, Slovakia,
yeah,
all these because they're all very big footballing nations. They're crazy for football. And you will get your rough diamonds, Georgia, places like that. You will get these diamonds coming out of there.
yeah,
So you've got to have, but if you've got no contacts in these clubs or these leagues, or you don't send people to go and watch a game here or there,
mm,
you know, your recruitment is poor. You've got Chelsea now who will take him and possibly loan him to someone like maybe a championship club
mm,
or a lower Premier League club.
yeah.
You know what I
They've
mean?
had a history of like, as you say, like be loaning lots of players, and and even sometimes I remember there was a time where they was loaning a lot of guys to the Dutch league as well, which obviously Dutch league is known for producing some really really good young talent as well.
Yeah, my mate Eddie Newton was he headed up the loan program at Chelsea for many years, kind of started it alongside the club. So he was the first person to deal with it. And I used to go up and spend time with him at Cobham and spend time with him on recruitment. Like, you know, not I didn't get paid by Chelsea, but I would spend time looking at players on his behalf and what have you. And yeah, sending the team played in yellow and black. I can't remember their name. Uh,
Vitesse.
yeah,
Yeah,
Vitesse Arnhem or something like that. They sent a lot of players
yeah.
there.
I think
Vitesse Arnhem, I think. Yeah,
Solanke went there as well, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
might be
yeah.
wrong. I think there was a guy called Lucas Piazon
Yeah,
who,
Piazza, very good player. Yeah,
mm,
yeah. So the idea is, I'm like, and I'm talking all Welsh clubs, but Wrexham, American owners, you look at them and what they're doing compared to the two championship clubs. Listen, I keep saying it, they're going to come in and overtake, honestly. They will. They come in and they'll
mm,
overtake Cardiff and Swansea because you've got two ownership models there
yeah,
who one spends money
hmm
but doesn't really know what it's doing. And one doesn't spend money and is sort of asset stripping for me. It's not investing for the long term
yeah,
benefit of the club. So you've got, two bad models there, and you've got Wrexham all of a sudden. American owners don't know the game, but honestly, I salute them because
yeah.
what they've done is pretty remarkable.
Because I find it really frustrating a as a fan who loves football, who loves Cardiff, who loves Wales. I look at the Welsh squad and I'm like, they've got some fantastic players. However, I look at it, and this may be just me with a bit of a bee in my bonnet, but I
Hmm.
look at it and I'm like, Cardiff is a capital city. We
Hmm.
have the highest population of people in the whole of the country.
Hmm.
Yet you look at our squad in the national team, how many of them are from Cardiff and like born in Cardiff and then kind of raised and trained in Cardiff?
Well, again, it comes down to, are you here to make money or you're here to develop?
Because there was like you look at the Welsh
Well, there wasn't
squad,
a player out of the academy for 10 years.
which is crazy, and
Yeah. And
as a,
anybody they had,
yeah,
like, what's his name, who scored, come on and scored, Rabi,
Rabbi,
they sold early almost as a justification of, look, our academy is okay,
yeah, he went to my
right?
school, Lanishan boy.
Yeah,
Ne-
that is your boy.
Never got past me though, Nathan. Never got past me. He
Yeah,
was in school
right.
about 7 years after, but he never got past me.
That's because you didn't play together.
But yeah,
But Jones, there was a lack of players for 10 years, and Swansea, and I know Cardiff fans who were taking their kids to Swansea Academy if they could get them in there,
hmm
10 years ago, 12
yeah,
years ago. And you look at the squad, the Welsh squad now, and I think there's probably 7, 8, maybe possibly 9 players in that squad who Swansea have generated, but their academy now is, dwindling.
yeah, but
Cardiff's is starting to kick up a few players. Do you know what I
hmm
mean? So you could say, oh, it's just, it's happened naturally, but I know differently. You
mm,
know, your academy should be producing a player for your first team as a minimum, sort of every 3 years, at
yeah,
least one player.
yeah. I just think it's a capital city as well. Like you look at any place or any club, the capital city, because it has the most population of people,
Mm,
has the most amount of players. Yet
mm.
it just frustrates me sometimes. You're getting like more players from Carmarthen, you know?
Well, another problem, we're going off on a bit of a tangent, but
Yeah.
another problem is sport in school. So
Mm,
what's happening is sport in school has been sort of marginalized right down to sort of the private or grammary kind of schools
hmm
or top schools, whereas the schools like I went to don't have no sport no more.
Yeah.
Now that to me is mind blowing. And I'm talking 10 years ago, I went, well, 8 years ago, we were doing a thing for BBC Wales about like kids who want to become sports broadcasters, commentators, myself, Rob Phillips, and a few others went up on behalf of County and the community, the charity I'm involved with, which
Mm,
is the charitable arm of Newport County. We went up to Monmouth School and then we went down to my old school, Milton, in
mm.
Ringland.
Which has a history
And
of
the
some
history is ridiculous.
fantastic athletes.
Ridiculous, right? So the history of Milton School and football, rugby, baseball, cricketers, athletics. netball, hockey, and those kids then went on to the high school, which is Hartridge, or some of them went to St. Joseph's if they were Catholic.
Mm.
The history of the estate producing sort of sports people. Hartridge High School All Boys, Spencer Boys was my local club. Hartridge High School All Boys was the rugby after the club. Produce player upon player upon player upon player. Even if they don't go to professional sport, their weekend consisted of playing rugby, football,
Yeah.
baseball, cricket, netball, hockey. Like I said, you go to those schools now. When I went there like 8, 9 years ago, I walked in went to Monmouth School. They got everything. Football pitches in abundance,
Yeah.
netball, hockey, rowing. They got sports I didn't even know were sports. When I go back to my old school, I walk in the vestibule and I say, oh, to the head teacher, oh, all right, miss, yeah, nice to meet you and all that. Where's the trophy cabinet gone? And she's like, oh, trophy cabinet, what you mean? It's like, you do know where's all you've got you'll have loads of trophies somewhere because the trophy cabinet used to be massive
Yeah.
in the vestibule. Oh, no, I didn't even know about the school's history of sport. So
Mm.
you roll that out across Newport, Cardiff, Swansea, Mid Wales, Carmarthen, North Wales, because it's council estate basically,
Mm.
right? The council estate schools, they don't have the level of sport that they used to have. And if they do, it tends to maybe cost a bit of money,
Yeah.
which isn't great. And I know you've got to pay for things, but the point is school sport should be free,
Mm.
right? And then you should be in leagues and win cups and what have you, like we used to.
It's the best
And then
memories
from
you have
there,
have
well,
as a kid, isn't it?
absolutely. And from there, all of a sudden, Cardiff, Swansea, Wrexham, Newport, instead of choosing from 3 or 4 schools that play football, you're choosing from 23, 24 schools that
Mm.
play football. I say there's people on my old estate in England who don't realize how talented they are naturally
Mm.
because their mums and dads played sport, or that might be their grandparents now. Yeah, I'm in my 50s,
Mm.
but their mums and dad play sport, but because sport has disappeared in school, they've never got into it. They've never maybe PlayStation in it or out on the estate doing whatever, But they don't realize there's no club for them to go to. I think
Mm.
they've just reformed Spencer Boys Club, and I think they're talking about reforming Hartford High School All Boys on my old estate. But there's so much sort of, and if you're bored, you tend to get into trouble, right, as a
Yeah.
kid. So yeah, I just think I don't know why we went off on that tangent, but I just think
Yeah.
the fact that Wales and Cardiff, as the capital city, aren't producing what they should be producing, I think is more of not. I don't think it's to do with the club necessarily.
Mm.
I think it's to do with the participants, the numbers, the amount of
Okay.
people now. If you're choosing from 100 people or you're choosing from 10,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Effectively, it's going to be scarce. Your
Yeah.
numbers are going to be scarce.
Mm.
But the academy needed to improve at Cardiff and
Yeah.
needs to improve now at Swansea and needs to improve at Newport also.
Mm. Right.
Give me the job, mate. I'll put
Oh,
them all up.
if you do
Players
it,
come
can I
out.
come with you? Because
Players
I'd
come out
love
of
it.
every
Can I give you my
crevice.
Can I give you my football manager CV? I've spotted
Players
some
come everywhere.
I've spotted some absolute talent from Serbia on my football manager. There's some great wingers out there.
But let me just give you a quick example, right? So myself and my mucker Norman Passal, who is the CEO of the charity County the Community.
Mm.
We also went another school visit. We went up to one of the junior schools in Abergavenny.
Mm.
Anyway, we have all the kids in the hall with balls and what have you, a few teachers around. And there was probably 40 kids, boys and girls. And we were just teaching them like natural skills because a lot of them don't even have any hand-eye coordination anymore because they don't climb trees, they don't fix things.
Yeah.
Like we used to build bikes, right?
Yeah.
I remember building a chopper for my mate Kevin, which was stuck in third gear, granted, but we built it by hand, right? So we were coaching these kids, and a lot of them had like no sort of ball control skill at all.
Yeah.
There's one little girl, I'll never forget her. She must have been maybe 7 or 8 years old, and she was so concentrated and so good naturally.
Mhm.
I was on one side of the hall, my mate was on the other side of the hall. We'd done about 3 or 4 different sessions, and then we'd come together, give them a little drink of squash and what have you, and we were chatting. And I said, "Oh, did you see?" And he went, "Yeah."
You both noticed, you both clocked on the exact same
Both
thing.
noticed her. And I said to the teacher afterwards, excuse me, yeah, that little girl there, you might want to tell her parents to take her to a football club. Problem is, the local club, Abergavenny, not very well run, mate. It's I think they've got a game tonight. Whether they'll go down out of like the Welsh League altogether, I think it's been run for the last 25 years by. It's just not good.
Mm.
Not good. Again, I would help them, but I would only help people who I know are decent,
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
fair.
yeah.
There's too many people trying to magpie it, I call. Just
Mm.
pick off the top, pick off. Should be about the community of Abergavenny because they got a great history.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress
Oh, I
again.
no, I find it fascinating because, and I think it
Yeah.
is like, especially guys kind of my age as well. It's a fascinating thing to look into because, granted, people like me love football, but we're not at that talent to be able to play it
Mm,
as a
mm.
profession. So, in terms of what we do, it fascinates us of these people who can make it, and that's why you
Yeah,
get
but you
people.
you also,
Yeah,
it's not just about talent, right?
yeah,
So there's people I played with and were recognized for things like he loves defending.
mm,
He's not very good with the ball, but he loves defending.
mm.
He will mark anyone, he will follow him, he will tackle anything.
Sounds
He'll
like
put
my
it
dream
on
player,
anyone.
Nate.
Right, right, right. So those players, what you do in the academy, you develop their ball skill.
Yeah.
But what they got is a heart and a good enough footballing brain to be able to take on board intelligence. It's not always all the tricky, skillful
Yeah.
little player. It's, often the footballer comes in many shapes, sizes, forms, but you've got to be able to spot talent. Like I say, that talent might not be dribbling with a ball. That talent might be putting your body in front of the ball,
Mm,
which is as important, right?
yeah, absolutely. So then, taking that flight from Luton Airport across to North Macedonia, a
Yeah,
little bit more of a hairy game. We watched that. So we had a different back four, and which was Ben Davies went to left back rather than centre back.
yeah.
You then had Chris Mepham come in centre back,
It
and
was
then
brilliant.
and then you had Williams coming to from left back to right back.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Mm.
preferred back four?
I don't. I like. I don't. I'm kind of with Craig on that. I don't. And do you know what I like about what he's doing? It sort of covers you for injuries,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because now you've probably had, like, he's never picked the same starting 11.
Mm,
And that's his seventh and eighth game, I think it was. So you've got 8 games, undefeated, different back fours, threes,
yeah.
fives, different midfield pairings, trios with a 10, different front threes.
Yeah.
So what you've got now is almost, that's what you call a squad. So
Mm,
everybody knows when they come in the team what their job is. So Nico is that flexibility player we talked about earlier, the same as Sorba. He
I
can play
flipping
left,
love
he can play
Nico.
right.
Look at
He is.
it. You see it?
Hey, come
It's
on.
honestly, I love him.
Yeah,
I think he's unbelievable.
yeah. He is a great player. He is a great player. I called him the Wriggler, not the Riddler.
Yeah.
Those who sent me on air. Why? I said because he gets in these positions where you think, oh, there's two players, and somehow the ball ricochets between them, and he always comes out the other side with the ball.
So true.
Always, always, always. But I think he's a tremendous player. And now, sort of, this season as well with Forest matured,
Hmm.
yeah, into that sort of man sort of. He looks more manly than young boy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah, like I said, I just think we got brilliant players, but I like Beckham as well. I thought he was brilliant. I thought him and Rodon's partnership
Yeah.
was. I thought Chris was. Joe's just a 9 out of 10 every game, right?
Solid.
Rodon,
Mm.
yeah, solid, mate. As a rock. And then
Yeah.
Beckham come in, and he was on it. Like there
Yeah.
was a couple of times that people, his teammates overrun the ball, bang, he was in with the tackle. You know, saved it, stopped the counter attack. That was the other thing I liked about the Macedonia
Mm.
game. We controlled it so well. We never looked like getting done on the counter.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so defensively we look sound.
yeah. And if you look at compared to Kazakhstan, like Kazakhstan 110th in the world, like Macedonia are quite a way above that. Like it is, they are deemed a much better team when it comes to the rankings. Like Macedonia 67th compared to like Kazakhstan who are
Mm.
110th. So that is actually quite a big jump of kind of ability.
Rankings, yeah, yeah. Well, they've only been part of FIFA since '94,
Mm,
Macedonia. And you got to think, what are we? So 30 years on,
yeah.
right? 31 years on. And in those 31 years, they've probably gone from 100 plus, and now they're in a position where I don't think they conceded for 20 odd hours and, went through the Nations League undefeated. Prior to that, had beaten Italy, had beaten Germany,
Yeah.
so they're on their way. So those sort of games, you think, oh, it's a fluke, went off. But to do it a second time tells you actually this country is moving forward in the way they play
Yeah.
and develop players and what have you. So to then, on the back of those sort of Germany, Italy results, then qualify for the Euros for the first time. Okay, didn't do great, but then have gone Nations League undefeated. Okay, they're in a lower group than us, but still, you to go undefeated
Hmm.
is difficult. Not concede goals for a long time is difficult. So, they were on a roll, but then to see the way we handled them gave me like so much comfort
Yeah.
because I thought Kazakhstan were a bigger threat to us than Macedonia were.
Hmm.
Honestly, I thought like we got this the wrong way around. And were more difficult to beat
Yeah.
than, and I know you're away from home, but just like looking at how they played, they started after about 60 odd minutes, started to slow the game down. I was watching the goalkeeper, the ball boy would throw him the ball, he would get the other ball, which was on the pitch. So two balls are on the pitch and
Hmm.
slowing. And then he went down a couple of times, the keeper, all signs like, you're trying to drag the game out.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, we're playing for time. We'll take a draw, 0-0. Keeps our unbeaten record, keeps our goals conceded record. And then, the moment happened, didn't it, in
Mm,
pass.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're 1-0 up with 2 minutes to go. But
Mm,
you know what I loved about the goal, our goal?
go for it.
First, like, Joe is a legend, right?
Yeah, and like no one is doubting that, and like forgiving.
Joe is a legend and shit
Yeah,
happens, right?
yeah,
People
yeah,
make mistakes, shit happens. But you know what I loved was being able to see the boys step up into the tempo they should have been playing at,
yeah,
right? They were like freaked. It's like someone put an electric shock through the whole team. And all of a sudden they just switched
yeah,
to need to get the goal back,
yeah,
to get that goal back in 2 minutes. Old school tactics out the window, big man up front, headed down in the box, goal, right? Which I loved.
and the slow
All of a
it took
sudden,
forever for that ball to
get over the
bounce and get
line.
over that line,
Yeah.
and like
You know
and
what
just
I love more than anything?
yeah,
Brooksy's reaction. Not I'm wheeling away to the fans, into the
he
net,
went
grab the
yeah,
ball for 60 seconds maybe to get a second goal. That
mm,
tells me everything about Craig and that team is on the right track, mate. And then I then recorded the fans. The lads were on the pitch doing a warm down, or warm. No, they were doing a bit of running. Those who hadn't played, and our fans. It's so stupid. They can find entertainment at anything. So as the boys were running down, and then from one end, from the halfway line to touch the 18-yard box and turn around, they go, ooh. And then when they touch the 18-yard, way, I was like, they just need something to entertain themselves because they're still like on a high from that goal.
Yeah.
But no, brilliant, brilliant comeback. And felt like a win. It
Hmm.
wasn't a win, but felt like a win. But I
Yeah.
think it's going to come down to between us and Belgium. One or two others think, no, they're not out of it, North Macedonia. But looking the way we handled them,
Yeah.
I felt we as pundits probably thought they were a lot better than what they actually were. Like I said, I would rather play them than Kazakhstan if I had to win the game.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I see what you mean. It feels like a team you're more able to play chess against
Yeah,
than
yeah.
Kazakhstan. I
Well, Kazakhstan, I thought Kazakhstan have got the way right with counter attack,
yeah.
right? And we've played lots of teams like that over the last couple of years, Armenia, Latvia, and people like that.
Yeah.
And, but Kazakhstan looked like a threat. I didn't think Macedonia had much of a threat.
Mm.
Excuse me, I think they had one, maybe two shots on target, but
Oh.
largely there was nothing for Dal to do in goal. It was
Hmm.
a comfortable, like you always felt like soon as Wales get the goal, this will end up being 3 or 4. The
Yeah.
problem was they just didn't get the goal.
Mm.
And Kazakhstan did, but watching them step up 2 or 3 gears, which is so difficult to do
Hmm.
with no time on the clock and get back into the game was tremendous. But mention for Jordan James as well. Listen, Cardiff City, you want to buy players? Go and put 10 million quid on the table for him and bring him to Cardiff. Those are the types of players you should be bringing into the club and building towards the Premier League because you know he can play Premier League and he's only going to get better. And he's a baby, right? Good size, good stature over in Rennes now, I think,
Yeah.
playing. You know, I bet you get him for 8, 10 million, probably 8 million, 9 million euros, like 7 million quid. Right? Put 10 million on, take the player.
Mm.
But Cardiff City, your recruitment, Swansea City, your recruitment. If you want to get to the Premier League because it keeps drifting away from you, right?
Mm.
You're not fighting at the top of the league for promotion. You're always, not always, but last few years you're fighting relegation. Sooner or later, that trapdoor is going to open.
Yeah.
Could be a season for Cardiff, right? But your recruitment, right? You don't bring those players in on loan. Go and buy them. Imagine him in the midfield because he
I
could
know.
he will be a general for you at his age now,
Mm.
right? A central midfield general. You go up against, I put him up against like midfielders, I say playing for Bournemouth, Brighton, what have you in the Premier League. I'd be quite comfortable in playing against them.
Yeah.
Mid-table, top of table Premier League players. So, it's frustrating, Dan,
Yeah.
sitting
I
watching
get. Yeah.
these like golden nuggets just float on by. Because someone will nab him, someone if I was in the Premier League now, not one of these ones be promoted, but Nottingham Forest or something like that.
Yeah.
We
I
talk
yeah.
about what's the lad, Walton, went from Blackburn to Crystal Palace.
Theo Wharton.
Wharton, he's as good as him, if not better. Mark my word.
Yeah.
Because Wharton's a very good passer. JJ's a beautiful passer, loves to pass forward, passes forward probably more than any other player. Right? He's up there with the best for passing forward. And he, as we've seen, he got a ridiculous switch of play in him.
Yeah.
And he's got that knuckle, right? He's a good
Yeah.
he'll fight. He's a dog as well. But he give him the ball under pressure, not a problem.
Yeah.
He's just a brilliant young footballer. And I'm like, I don't understand sometimes what our sort of whole process of recruitment is in some of our clubs,
Mm.
but it definitely it like Wrexham aside, I think it needs to. I understand what Newport are doing, trying to get players and sell them for money, but
Mm.
the two championship clubs, Swansea and Cardiff,
Yeah.
your goal should be Premier League, capital city. big city down the road. Your goal should be Premier League and trying to become a Brighton,
Yeah.
become a Bournemouth, become a Forest, you know.
Yeah.
But I doubt it'll happen, mate. But listen, great result, 1-1.
We keep
Should
going
have
as
won.
well. We keep going.
Yeah, should have won, but it's another game undefeated,
Yeah.
another confidence booster.
Yeah.
You're on the right track. Everyone knows, like I say, I think it's going to come down to that Belgium game.
Flipping Belgium.
Again.
Every time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
uh,
We're like their nemesis, though. We're the team they probably think, oh, damn.
where
Because
what? Yeah.
we can do them at home. We've done them at home.
Yeah.
We've got a point off them at home when we needed to get the no major tournaments.
Yeah.
We've done them in quarterfinals of major tournaments. So we're like their kryptonite.
I know we're like what Shola Amiobi was to Sunderland a few years ago.
Yeah, or Chopper was the Swansea.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
Yeah,
awesome. And then final bit of news, Nate, is because we've got about 5 minutes left on this call, is so ever since I've known you, I've been without an ACL or had
yeah,
as you call it, my dicky knee.
yeah.
I have finally, as of for this weekend, so when this goes out, it will be the day. I have been picked for a squad to be playing on Saturday. Saturday
11
morning,
side.
11 aside. I'm
Okay.
back.
Welcome back, my friend. Welcome back. Although I should say welcome back because I'm not in there myself. Yeah, take your time, no doubt. You're going to strap it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear a brace for this one. And to be honest, there's 16 in the team, so there's a possible chance I won't even get on. But to be part of a team and to be
Again.
back in some and to be part of something that I have worked and rehabbed and had 2 surgeries for, to get back onto a pitch with some people and just put a kit back on is going to be
Yeah,
so good. And like
yeah,
whatever happens, I'm just like so grateful that I've taken my time, got a body that's ready. Like I've been playing 5-a-side, I've been training for like 3-4 months on my own, and then another 3 months with the team doing contact. And the team have been the team I'm playing for, Vineyard, have been really good to me because they let me sign on, but with the premise of even if I didn't play a game for them, that would have been okay.
yeah. Ah, wicked, mate.
So
Wicked. Well, good luck, mate. Take your time.
yeah,
Don't. What I would say to you is, sometimes players think this is how players get injured. Like they get in a bit of an argument with someone, and then they think, I'm going to go and boot him, right? Because he's doing my head in, great opportunity. And
yeah,
9 times out of 10, they come out worse for wear.
yeah.
Just play the game, don't get involved, mate, and just enjoy it.
Don't let it
Enjoy
get to
being
my
back.
head.
Don't let it go to your head now. Just take your time, kid. Take your time.
Oh,
Don't want
cheers.
to be on this podcast in a fortnight's time going, Nate, done my knee again.
No, I know.
Don't. Just take your time, get through 90 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it is. Get yourself 6 games, I would say, before, okay, I'm all in everywhere.
Oh, cheers, Nate.
Yeah, man. Nice one, Dan.